Good morning, Kansas City. Welcome to another fun episode of Life After KCPS, Real World Learning. My name is Chris Odam, and I'm excited to be joined today by another of the students that I worked with in the past who has gone on to school and has some stories to tell about it. And we were just catching up right now before we jumped into this, is that I remember fondly some of the things that we did. I think Rendale was part of yearbook for a while and did some of those things. And I was the creative writing guy. And so we took some field trips and we might've taken you on a couple of those. And I want you to tell me what you remember about those. And maybe even if they helped you think about where you wanted to go to school. So let's wind it back. What year did you graduate from Paseo Academy?
2011.
2011,
Yeah.
10 years ago, basically, right? What a big 10 years I bet it's been since high school. Does it feel that way? Does it feel like?
Yeah. I tell you the truth, it feels like it was a while ago. Most things I remember fondly about some things from high school, but I just can't believe it's been 10 years. It feels like it just went by like that.
Yeah, I can put another 10 on there and tell you, like I came out in 96. And so
Wow.
that's more than 10 years, more than 20 years, it's come all the way around.
Yeah.
So it does take off and life gets busy. So take me back to the year you graduated. Remind me kind of what you were doing those days. I think I remember, but what was a day in the life like when you were a senior and you were getting ready to graduate?
For sure. Like you mentioned, I was at the time I was working on yearbook. I worked on I think my junior yearbook and my senior year yearbook. And then at the time I also was doing my senior projects. And one of those projects were in Miss Mitchell's class, who is like one of my favorite teachers from high school. And I think we were doing something with like with words and stuff like that. We were like forming words into pictures and stuff. And one of the pictures I did, I used to take a lot of pictures on the mag books that we had back in high school. And I just used one of those pictures that I had and, did all the typography for it. And Ms. Mitchell came to me and said she was going to enter it in like one of the galleries over at Avila. And so we did that. And it was just a bunch of other art students also. And from there, when we took the field trip or went to the gallery to Avila, I got to meet some of the teachers there that worked in graphic design department. One in particular that really recruited me was Miss Mendenhall. She was a photography teacher there at Avila for a little bit, and she's a great lady. So that's how my end of the senior year went. So from me going on a trip to Avila, that's where like my whole path took course, because I was able to see and tour the facilities over at Avila, and I really fell in love with the school. It was kind of small, but I didn't mind that, because they had a great graphic design program, and I fell in love with the teachers.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think I got to work with students enough that I knew when we went to campus kind of experiences, I could see the wheels spinning where people are thinking, could I go here? Do I want to go here? What would I think if I went here? And I think that's so valuable and important. I'm glad you got the most out of going there for a field trip, because then you could really decide, yeah, this is where I am. So tell me about Avila. Like, what was your experience like there?
It's funny how I ended up at Avila, because again, in high school, I got actually accepted to KU, and I really wanted to go into architecture. And but after the field trip we took, like I said, I loved Avila. And at Avila, I met like some of the best people. Like my best friend right now was my roommate in college. And when I first started going to Avila, I had two football roommates, and apparently like there was a third person there who tried to like pose as me and take the room I was in. It was a whole crazy spill, but luckily I did get the two roommates I had. Unfortunately, one of my roommates that I had passed away, and it was a real sad thing. But my other roommate, his name is Davion. He was actually the best man in my wedding, and like we just been best friends since. And at Avila, I had like I said, a bevy of great teachers, from Mendenhall to Susan Lawler, Eric Winter. They all helped me through the course of my career and everything like that. And so I was able to take like a multitude of courses, from identity design to painting to photography. Like I got to work into a red room or a dark room for a little bit. So we like developed our own pictures for a little bit before we got into digital photography. I did clay. It was just it was a lot, but
Gotcha.
being able to stay on campus.
So Avila is I'm sorry if I didn't interrupt you, but
It's okay.
So Avila is a 4-year school, right? And you did traditional path, or you did something different than that?
I did do I started as a traditional, but like my freshman year was a little bit wild. So I did stay there longer than I wanted to. And when I finally did get out of Avila, I was working at a place called PRA at the time. And like they had me there for part-time, and I was doing their graphic design for Lenexa and Salt Lake City. And at the time, I think Marlton, New Jersey, I was doing all the advertising. And so I was there for part-time, and they was gonna wait until I graduated Avila to put me on full-time. So I managed to walk across the stage, I think in 2017. And when I was driving home one day, I would never forget this phone call. I was driving home one day, and I got a call from the admissions office and saying that I was missing 3 credits. So I want to go. So they were my degree for me, and it I think after that I went to work for PRE for full time for a little bit, and then my wife just kept egging me on. She said, "You can just go back and get your degree. You can go back and you can do this." Because the course I was missing at the time was like philosophy, religion. It was like Avila was like the only college that would like had this course for you to graduate. Yeah.
Right.
So after I think I want to say in 2019, after my wife just kept helping me out, she found a class at JCC that would be comparable to these 3 credits, and I took the course, and I finally got my degree. So it took a long way around, but I can't complain. As long as luckily I had like my wife right there with me, because without her I probably wouldn't still be degreeless. But
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So that happened, and you also got married along the way. And
yeah.
Wow. So that happened with someone you met from school or from?
I met her during school.
During
Yeah, back in 2014.
Wow. All right. Mm-hmm. Very cool. And she was someone from right here in this city that also went to Avila, or someone from?
Yeah, she's from Topeka. It's funny enough, like there's some people at Avila that knew her, so it was like just a connection that we had with mutual friends, luckily. And from there, I haven't been with anybody else. She's been amazing, and we're coming up on our what's this? We got married back in 2018. So yeah, we're about to come up on our 3-year anniversary.
Wow. Well, double congratulations, both on the degree and the wedding. That's fantastic. And if you're listening, young people, degrees don't take a certain amount of years. They take a certain amount of credits, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter how many years you take to get those credits sometimes. And that's the myth sometimes of college, is that it's supposed to take exactly a certain amount of time. Or your adult life, you're going to have time to conquer these goals, and no one will know any differently that you took it a little out of order, or right? You're probably the hardest on yourself about not having it all the way nailed down there.
Yeah.
Right. But really, like, it's the same level of accomplishment. You found your way into school and found your way through school and then finished it out, but also, I'm guessing, found a job that goes with what you did in school. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So tell us, if we're listening, you did that in school. You went down a certain path to do what? What exactly do you do?
I graduated with graphic design. I started graphic design at Purcell, of course.
I remember.
At Purcell, before I went to Purcell Academy, I was somewhere else. My mom, she was the person who was a real stickler on me about like getting into art, because I used to, like, she was creative, and I like doing things with my hands and stuff like that. So I took the Purcell Academy like summer program, and to get into the art program there. And from there, like, my love for graphic design took off. And then I did graphic design at Avila. And while at Avila, I found a job at PRA Health Sciences and did, advertising and graphic design there from 2017 to 2021. And now I'm at Reese Nichols. And I'm on the marketing team. I do most of the commercial real estate marketing.
Wow, that's really cool. That's really cool. My person I know very well that's in my life is also a graphic artist, and she works for Trezolo, which is
Yeah.
a smaller firm in our city. And I've
Hmm.
learned a lot just by listening to her of all what they do and how they, the marketing and all the pitch to the customer and
Yeah, exactly.
a million different logo designs to pick one or right.
Hmm.
So is that the same kind of work? You're on that same team, like talking to the customers and coming up with the designs, or
Yeah,
what part of the work do you do?
for sure. Right now with me, I have a team of agents, commercial real estate agents, and they have certain properties under them, and they want to market their properties. So I would make their brochures. I would reach out and talk to them and post stuff on social media for them, and I will also like post all their listings and stuff like that on the websites that have commercial real estate. But in between doing that, I also am a part of the Reese Nichols marketing team. So I would create different event brochures and logos and stuff like that for Reese Nichols events. For instance, we just had an event called the Shelter Light Hour with Quez Presents. And it was basically trying to get the Black community more familiarized with Reese Nichols. And so we can get more people into homes basically, or people who wants to be real estate agents. So I designed, or me and the team designed the flyers, the printouts and stuff like that.
Wow, very cool.
Mhm.
So you're right there, kind of ever-changing work, constantly being put to the test of being
Mhm.
creative and coming up with things. And is that fun? Are you enjoying that kind of
Yeah,
challenge?
yeah,
Yeah,
I love it. Yeah, I cannot ask for a better profession. I love that I'm able to do something I found passion and love in.
very cool. And I guess be prosperous in the event that there's a lot of that work needed, probably. And that's probably a pretty good little spot to find yourself if you're a graphic
Mhm.
artist, is like with a guaranteed market and kind of a guaranteed customer, and that you work for another business. I don't think I
Yeah,
realized that there were that many graphic artists to go around, that like everybody has one
yeah.
at their own business now. So
Mhm.
is it really competitive and really challenging to stay, I guess, competitive in graphic design?
Um, I would say yes and no. It really depends on if how hard you are on yourself. I'm very hard. Every time I put something out, I just stop looking at it because there's a million different things I would change about it. But at the same time, it really is if you're comparing yourself to others and stuff like that. And as long as you are putting out stuff and people are loving it and you yourself love it, that's what should all matter, because there's someone out there who is bound to fall in love with your work. So and if when you say competitive, like in a job market,
I suppose, yeah, that there's not enough work to go around sometimes, or that multiple people
mm,
might all try for the same accounts, or
yeah,
I don't know, maybe
for
not
sure.
exactly at Reese Nichols, but in the graphic design art world, I bet it's hard, and that people do have
Mm,
to kind of have even more skill than their neighbor, or
yeah.
or more artistic sense
Mm,
of what the final product would look like than their neighbor, and beat them
yeah.
out for the same account, right?
Yeah, for sure. You nowadays you need like a lot of experience. Say not only in like the creative suite, like Adobe, Illustrator, and Photoshop and stuff like that, but you sometimes you will need like web design, and you need like user experience design and stuff like that. So luckily, I did do a little bit of that at Avila, and I bought some coding books and stuff like that myself, just in case like if I am looking for a change, I can just like, because that's another challenge that I put upon myself is like I always have to learn. If I'm not learning, then I'm doing something wrong. Like if there's
Right.
something out there I don't know what to do, I would just go look up about it, buy books, read on the internet, look at YouTube videos and stuff like that. Because
Gotcha.
that's how I always been, and that's how I got started.
Yeah, no, that was my kind of question. How people keep their edge and how
Mm-hmm.
they stay sharp in their art form. It sounds like that you have to do that kind of personally and stay true to growing on your own. So that's great advice. Let's do that kind of as our bookends to this conversation. Then we've heard some great experiential testimony. I'm loving that you're loving your best life and having a great
Yeah.
job, and the things that you did led toward that kind of naturally, and you found your way. What would you say to some young people who are trying to do that very thing? And I guess maybe they're sitting there in a high school classroom wondering, what am I going to do? Like, what do you think you needed to hear back then? Or what did you hear back then that might have been helpful? Or what do you think you would need to hear, I guess, right now if you were sitting in the same seat they were?
I would definitely say the best advice was stop procrastinating and don't procrastinate, because like you can always push something off until later, but it is better to do it now. And especially if you are have that fire in you where you want to get something out there immediately and stuff like that. And I really had a bad time procrastinating, and I really wish somebody like told me something like that sooner, especially during my freshman year of college.
Yeah.
Like I was like the procrastinating king, because like once you go out there and go on your own, and there's no one really like telling you to you have to get this done by a certain time, because you will have some teachers out there that will try to help you as much as possible, but it's up to you to actually get that stuff out there, your work done and all your art done and stuff like that. So there's no one out there but you who can tell you to keep going. Like, don't give up on yourself. And especially when you're applying for jobs and such, as a graphic designer, if you get turned down for the job, I would just ask the interviewer, like, what would you change, or like what is something I could do better, so I can like go out there and like strive to be my best self.
Fantastic. I think that's exactly right. And again, I wish that's why we're doing these kind of shows, save somebody the chance of having to learn that themselves and maybe hear it from somebody in like a hurry up, fast forward kind of mode. That but I'm with you. I don't necessarily hear that message as clearly when I was younger. I taught for 15 years, which I'm very proud to have done. But a lot of people wondered, like, are you going to do anything after this? Or are you planning on doing anything after this? And in some cases, people would ask, like, if you're going to be successful, why are you still doing this? And but I think success comes from inside, and we decide what it looks and feels like too. And I loved that success. I mean, looking back on it, that's some of my favorite versions of what success. It may not have made a lot that compared to some of the things we do down the road when we get older. And unfortunately, we don't pay teachers near what they deserve. But talk about feelings of worthiness and excitement about what you do for a living, then those things just are not hard to find, right? All over the place. And really such a rewarding career. But again, 15 years was a long time. I've met young people. I think it's kind of a truth now, is that younger people don't wait as long anymore to get right up there in the front or to step up to the lead. It's kind of a generational change, and that we have young principals in our district that are not even, themselves very old. I think under 30 years old. And I never even thought that was an option, that we would, that someone so young would make it to that level, but also would know what to do. And sometimes I think we forget young people know what to do, right? Like maybe even more than people who go on and forget what to do as they get older. But like a lot of young people really know what to do. So I'm excited you're in there, you're on the front lines. Do you have goals? What do you want to do next, since you kind of brought those up?
For sure. Next, I would like to stay with my company for a while at Reese Nichols. I have a fantastic team. And if that starts to whittle down, my end goal, I always wanted to be at a design firm. Because when I was at Avila, we went on design crawl to different firms downtown. And I fell in love with places like Reactor and what's that, Barclay. I really love Barclay. We did go to Shijolo at one point. And so I would like, my end goal is probably to be like a creative director at a design firm, even if it's small. That's just something I really, really want to do. And especially as a creative director, you are able to like not only work with a team, but you also can like give direction. And I remember back in high school, I really wanted to be like a graphic design teacher, because I just love like Miss Mitchell so much, and like the way, like the inspiration she gave us, I wanted to give to another generation and stuff like that. So I feel like I can fulfill that role as a creative director at a design firm.
Awesome. Shout out to Sharon Mitchell. She's
Yeah.
over there these days. One of the teachers that I work with that's still there in the building, and not very many. Shout out to Charlie Monaco, who's probably the only other person I think currently still there from, I started in 2001, so it's been some years. But Rendale, it's been awesome catching up with you. If you've been listening this morning, you've heard a really great story of someone who was paying attention when we were going to these field trips and thinking about the world and where he might want to go after high school. And in some cases, it doesn't always work like that, you know. And so it's just fantastic to see that you found a path, and then your path led you to even more great things to do. And I'm just very excited. Proud, I think, is the word, even though I may have had the tiniest bit to do with it. I remember working with you in yearbook, and I remember that those were not just like little hobbies and things you were dabbling in, but definitely you're vested, you're busy. You know, end product was like, you know, everything. It had to be quality for you to work on it. And here you are, right, doing that for a living, and other people agreeing with you and giving you money to do what we used to do for totally free in high school. So thanks for coming on here. I look forward to your growth down the road. And if you need any contacts at one particular place, let me know. I try to get them to pay attention to you. I've been to so many of their Christmas parties. They would recognize my name if I sent them an email. So be glad to try. That. Be glad to try. You never know, man, right? Connections are connections. So Rendale, it's been great. Thanks so much for doing this. If you're listening today, this is another episode of Life After KCPS, Real World Learning. My name is Chris Odam. If you'd like to contact me and be part of this process, you could come on and tell the world your story. Young people are listening. They're thinking about their paths and where they might go. And you might just be one of those folks that kind of gives the person a light bulb and they think, I'm going to do that. So that is one of the reasons we do this. Another reason, just fantastic fun to catch up and see how everybody's doing. So we'll leave it at that. It's been a fantastic interview. Thanks again for coming, sir. Kansas City.
Thank you.
Have a great day.